Hello and welcome to Talk It Out, where we talk it out. My name is Duryea Rashad, and I'm so happy that you all are here with me tonight. We have an excellent show for you lined up. It's Thursday, my favorite time of the week. But before we get into it, our show about political correctness and whether or not America has gone soft, I want to remind you, if it's your first time watching Talk It Out, this is a place where people of opposing views can get together and have a healthy, productive dialogue in a respectful way, keeping in mind that it's not always about proving who's right and who's wrong. Sometimes it's simply about listening and being heard. Now, if you are watching right now with us, please like and share with your friends. You can share us. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube, and you can find us on Twitch at Daygamer, and you can find us on YouTube by searching Woe Nelly Media, or you can go to woenellymedia.com and find us there. Like, share, subscribe, hook us up, like our Facebook page at WNM Talk It Out or Woe Nelly Media. All right. Now, without further ado, let's bring in our illustrious panel. So, returning to the panel is Danny Yoon. Hey, Danny.
Hey, what's going on?
Go ahead. I ain't saying that.
I was just going to say it's good to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. I like your background upgrade.
Yeah, it's the first panel from my comic that's been colored. The comic's going to be in black and white, but I did get the first page in color. So
your comics. Tell us about your comic in like 5 seconds.
Okay, yeah, it's fun to say. Collinsworth's Clockwork Circus. It's steampunk fantasy, and it's going to be out in January. We're going to do a Kickstarter, late January, early February.
Awesome. Danny Yoon is a storyteller and writer working for Catalyst Game Labs, where he leads development of the Shadowrun RPG official campaign. He's also the content director for Rem Alternis, a creative media outlet. And when he's not paneling for Talk It Out, he is tormenting me on Tuesdays in a Shadowrun live stream at twitch.tv/Master of Rem. And torment is correct. Every time I try to do like anything cool, he's like, eh. So please join us there every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
That's right.
All right. Now let's bring in our mom with the mouth. That's what I'm gonna call her. Okay. Georgia Logan. Hey, Georgia.
Hey.
What's
See, now
up?
I gotta be good because like you made me sound like I'm the horror. Well, I am.
No, I mean you just tell it how it is, and I love
do.
that.
I do.
Georgia is a single Libra mother of 2 beautiful daughters who is addicted to running and fitness, like 5 times a day, I swear. 2010, Georgia State University graduate with a BA in Spanish literature and also a homeschooling mom. She enjoys cooking, traveling, eating, and practicing self-care. And I can attest to all 4 or 5 of those things. Okay, I had to count them. How are you doing this week?
I'm hanging in here. It's been interesting, but I'm here.
Awesome. Are you ready for this conversation? I'm ready. I can't stay. Oh, she brought her guest. We have a honorary panelist. Show him to everybody at home. Yeah, I'm not gonna say his name because I don't know if I can because copyright.
Baby,
but I don't think we can. Yeah, baby him. That cute little baby that's taking over every meme on the internet. All right. Now, also a returning panelist who's been away for so long. Since our first ever live episode, she's finally back, and now with upgraded everything, Miss Tamala Ransom.
Hello.
Hey, you look so beautiful.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.
Right. Tamala Ransom is a high school theater teacher and owner of Passion Works Dance Academy. She's a graduate of Columbus State University, my alma mater, and a proud mother of 3. She can be found on social media as Tamala Ransom, or you can check out her dance program, Passion Works Dance Academy. How have you been? How's this week going for you?
I mean, it's busy, but you know, Christmas is around the corner. I'm just counting down.
Bet. Christmas is the best time of year. Okay. All right. Next, another returning panelist is a great friend of mine, Mr. Jim Farr, who is not there right now, so we'll come back to him. Oh, there he is. I couldn't see. Jim, where are you? Oh.
I had to do a thing. You ain't just gonna.
You got to let me know if you're trying to do a thing because I messed it up. I didn't know you was trying to do something. My bad.
It worked.
It worked. Okay. Jim Farr is a barista, aka
barista.
I'm sorry. I'll be fancy. Jim Farr is a barista, aka an out of work actor, which, you know, A lot of us are at this point. How's your week been, Jim?
Pretty standard. I go to work and then I come home and I don't leave.
Well, at least you don't leave, which is, more than some people can say. All right. Now, welcoming our new panelists for this week. We have 3 new panelists. First, we have Chris. Chris is a nerd, a fan of discussion, and a herder of children, which I'm going to ask him what are they sheep? Catch him on Tuesday and Friday nights as well as Saturday mornings streaming RPGs on Twitch. He's also part of the Shadowrun missions that I'm in. When stuff gets crazy, he seems to be the only one that always has my back, though. I'm going to just throw that out there. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up? Always about the smoke.
Right. He's always about the smoke. Like something happened and somebody pushed me. Boy whipped out his sword and cut him in half. 0 to 100 real quick. So, yeah.
Move fast
right.
or die hard.
Right. That's how it's got to be. All right. Another new panelist. I'm going to say his last name wrong, so I'm going to wait for him to get here so he can say his last name. But PJ is an associate broker with a local real estate firm, which is, I believe, local to Columbus. As an Asian American who grew up on the other side of the tracks, PJ understands how important the comfort and security of having a home is and actively engages his community and his industry in promoting fair housing. And for the better part of 2 decades, he and his wife have called Georgia home. You can find him on his blog, which is the PJ Vong, which is VONG.blogspot.com, or you can find him on Twitter at the PJ Vong. Everyone, please welcome to the panel, PJ, and he's going to tell me how to say his last name.
Vong Savon.
Vong Savon.
Yeah,
I still said it, and I should say everybody's name that's not like a normal name perfectly because of my name, but that's never how it works out.
Yeah, I never understood that about.
Never how it works out.
Yeah. Just
All
lucky
right.
my name is a state, or you would have said it wrong in 7th grade.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's my home state too. All right. So one more person added to the. Oh, how are you doing this week, PJ?
I'm doing great. It's kind of weird. You introduced me as a realtor, and our industry over the summer during the pandemic, our industry boomed, which was just insane to see how people wanted to get out. And my family, we were hunkering down. We continue to conduct business, but we controlled how we went out and engaged with the public.
Right.
But it was scary to see a lot of our agents who were paying lip service to safety, but basically trying to get that dollar.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, all in all, it's been great. And we've used this opportunity to get to know our kids again and spend more time together as a family.
That's amazing. That's awesome. He's a good example for how people, I guess, should be doing in the pandemic. But yeah. All right. So one more new panelist. Our newest panelist, we're not newest, but our last new panelist is named Michael. Michael is just a guy with an opinion on Facebook. Social media handle is Get My. If anyone, what's the word? Words come to my brain. What's my current? My check-in for the week is that I am having a virtual reading of this script that I wrote. I conceived the script a long time ago, but it's like a comedy, and I don't think I'm funny. And so I was trying to get my best friend to write it based off my plot, but he wouldn't do it. He's like, "No, you're gonna write it because you're actually." So I finally wrote it, and I'm having a reading for it on Saturday at 6. If you find us on Facebook at the Writers Room, it's a group. Join, and you'll get the link to that. And I'm really excited. And come and give me your feedback. All right. Now, before we get into our main topic, as usual, let's pause for a small ad break.
We are counting down the days to closing out the beautiful Frasier. And one of the things that I really love about our projects, because we named them, we built character, they're almost like your little baby, and you're ready to present it to the world. And one of the things, we look at the little details, and then we start to nitpick, and then before you know it, a few weeks turns into a few months, and before you know it, your project is prolonged more than you thought, just for the little details. But one of the things you have to do is just breathe, relax, and trust the process. Know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And as long as you stay in committed action each day, you will ultimately get to completion. These things and more, we help investors get their start in real estate investing. So contact us, visit us at it'sjessicamyers.com to learn how you can get your start today.
Be on the lookout for these upcoming projects from the Springer. Just in time for the holidays, it's the Winter Wonderettes, playing December 10th through the 20th, and a premium screening of Home Alone, playing 3 showings on Saturday, December 5th. Head on over to springeroperahouse.org now to get your tickets. And while you're there, check out information about Giving Tuesday and see how you can support your local theater with a donation of any size. A small amendment to that last announcement, the Springer has decided not to allow to have a, indoors viewings for the Winter Wonderettes because of safety reasons, because there's a spike in COVID cases. However, they are now streaming the performances the 18th, the 19th, and the 20th. So even people who aren't in Columbus can watch it. It's a Christmassy show with all the Christmas classics. I interviewed the ladies. It's a great cast of girls, of women, and they are singing and dancing, and it's got like a retro feel. It's really cool. Go to springeroperahouse.org and get a ticket. They're only like $30. So, having said that, let's get into some hot topics. Y'all already know because her name was in the headlines this week who I'm about to talk about, okay? Cardi B.
Oh, okay.
Cardi B. So this is what happened. I follow Cardi B. Right. I follow like I just got on Twitter, which confuses me, so I don't really use it. But I follow Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, and Beyonce. Beyonce never posts on Twitter, but if she does post, I'll know about it. So of those 3, I'd follow other people, but I think Cardi B probably posts the most out of anyone I follow. And her ideology is that that's her way to connect with her fans, like one-on-one. So she got online this past week and said she wanted to buy this $88,000 purse. And the statement was $88,000 on a purse. Should I do it? ? And her fans were like, oh no, girl, say that money, do something else with it. Cause that's like the banter between them, right? And then of course the banter went left at some point and went to how she's like selfish and all these other horrible things that they called her, right? And then, so the back and forth went where she was like, but I donated $2 million. She was like, why? They were basically saying it's insensitive for you to get online flaunting your money when people are like out of work and having all these struggles. And her response was, well, I definitely donated $2 million to pandemic relief and frontline workers this year. So, and then it spiraled on. Some guy from some news publication, I'm gonna say Huffington Post, said some negative things about her as well too. They weren't distasteful, but they were negative. So I guess the question I pose to you all is: 1, was she wrong in any of her actions, or do you think she was wrong? And 2, do you think? Yes, let's just start there. Do you think she was wrong in anything that she did and how she handled it? Or do you think the people are not staying in it, or not? Yeah, soft. I was gonna say not staying in their lane. Yeah, all those things. So whoever wants to go.
I mean, she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything wrong at all. Like she said, she already gave her tithe. You know what I'm saying? She gave $2 million to relief and pandemic research, and she's got $1 bajillion. Why can't she buy a fucking purse with it?
I don't give a damn if she gave $2 million or not. It's her money. She can do what the hell she want to do with it.
True.
I wasn't even responding to that bullshit. You saw what my comment was. What I say? I said, fuck the haters. That was my comment on that. People just no.
But it's only happening because she's a celebrity. I literally did the same thing on Twitter. I bought
$88,000?
Right. Give me $5, Jim.
Yeah,
Man.
I spent a good amount of money on this sweatsuit because I like
sweatsuit. No, better come with that hat too and those glasses.
So,
I mean, I've lost friends for doing better in life or being able to buy something that they can't buy. Like I literally had a friend come at me and my other friend and said, like, it must be nice to have things handed to you. I'm like, what?
Right.
Excuse you, yeah. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a celebrity. You just have to have a follower of haters.
Well, the issue I had with it, and I think Jim was trying to say something. So, Jim, go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just saying go.
You got a suit.
I kind of wanted to hear about your suit, but I guess I figured it out.
Oh, well, okay. So I spent you can get a sweatsuit at Walmart for like $15. I really like this person on Instagram. They do good work. So I wanted to support a local artist. I did that. And I asked my Twitter, I said, should I spend this much money on this sweatsuit? And every answer was, if you feel good about it, yeah, go ahead and do it. Right. And so I got this sweatsuit.
You gotta model it for us though.
I actually
can you like crochet and shit?
Well, it's interesting though, because when I saw the post,
quick, paint him like one of your French girls.
Get it? Wait. Let me put Jim on big screen. Where you at? wait, Jim, do it. Bow, yes.
Oh, and he got with the cat assist.
The cat for me.
With the cat.
With the cat assist.
This is quality content right here.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so basically, like, my thing was, okay, when I saw the post, I was in the middle of working, editing something, doing something weird. And so I saw the post, and the first thing I thought is, I wish he didn't put that on the internet. But then I didn't care because Cardi B that's just how she is. That's how but she's also a rapper. Let's be clear. That entire genre of music is about talking about how much I have things that you don't. Mm-hmm. That entire genre is like, look at all the stuff I have that you don't. And you are surprised that she's saying, like, look, I want to buy this purse. That's what got me about it. I'm like, and I mean, really, any celebrity, that's their lifestyle. Rappers are more vocal about it, but that's what celebrities do. Celebrities go to red carpet events. Remember when they used to take you behind the scenes at award shows and show you swag bags? And I'm thinking to myself, wait, you about to give a $5,000 or bracelet? I'm sorry, like a $500,000 swag bag to billionaires?
I know, right?
Why? So for me, I think I think people like to criticize her specifically because of her origins, to be honest.
And social media, I mean, what do you expect on social media as far as how people are going to react? NPR had a podcast called Hidden Brain that actually just talked about being rage driven. And that's where social media, where we just vomit this awful stuff, and because we don't have to deal with it, that's what we see.
Yeah. I think about Twitter. Go ahead, I mean, control.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I was just saying, Twitter, 2% of the people, make most of the noise on Twitter. Now, as far as Cardi B is concerned herself, yes, you could talk about her origins. I think she's kind of, ratchet and unashamed. But at that same time, she is very, I don't know gripes with it. She's very generous. She's always been very generous. So as soon as she kind of came up, she did far more philanthropy than a lot of people have, based on what we're used to seeing out of celebrities. So you think about what she's, interacting with her fans with, like, hey, should I do this? But it goes back to, does that make you feel good about yourself? Then yes. And then on top of doing what makes you feel good about yourself because you can afford it and you're making responsible decisions with your life, then whatever. And then you throw philanthropy on top of it, and she's done a lot more than a lot of other people, So, I mean, listen, if you want to buy $88,000 on a purse, that shit better be nice. But if that's what makes you feel good, then do it. It wasn't nice.
That's the worst part, though. I'm sorry. The worst part to me was that the purse wasn't cute.
I was about to say.
That was the worst part to me. I saw they showed.
I'm gonna
somebody showed a picture of the purse, and I was like, "You can't show it on here. You can go look. I don't want to show it on here after I said that because then I don't have no money. But if they did, I don't even want. I want that smoke.
That's what it looks like.
It looks like an UGG boot, yeah. But the purse wasn't cute to me when I saw it. I was like, but here's the thing though, like. I feel like when you said the whole thing about Mike, you said that she was ratchet and apologetic. Here's my thing. People want her to be apologetic about it. Why? But she's ratchet, quote unquote, because that's what her environment bred. That's what it was. I don't feel like I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine recently about how he doesn't like ratchet. He was black. I forget who I had this conversation with. Maybe it was online. Maybe it wasn't a friend. Anyway, basically like ratchet people make us look bad or something. I was like, well, they're just being themselves, really. I love a good ratchet. I got a family that's ratchet. I'm a little ratchet given the right circumstances. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing about Cardi.
Okay.
So the thing is, the reason she's so big is because, one, her authenticity. She's not fake. She is ratchet. She has been that the entire time. And the other thing is the way social media is set up. I mean, it's set up for people to comment on stuff. She knew when she made the post that she was going to get some flack about it. But at the end of the day, she has always just been herself, and she's been very open and transparent literally about everything. So, you know, she may buy an $88,000 purse and then turn around. She's very open about what she does in the community. She's always bridging the gap with things. So you'll see this ratchet woman with the background that she has, going live with politicians to like show more to her fans who may not have the same thing. So at the end of the day, like, sis, keep posting, because the more attention you get, the more you're doing for your community. And honestly, I think it's making more people comfortable with just being who you are. So, I mean, ratchet or not, say what you want. Social media is set up for the debates. It's set up for the pettiness. It's not bothering her. So
Clearly. I do want to mention. Go ahead, Mike.
I think people who are mad about her being ratchet or this persona is not necessarily something that they should like take up with her, because she's being her authentic self rather than what like the record industry, promotes and highlights and puts on the spotlight. Because I mean, it's widely regarded that she doesn't write her own music, and stuff like that. So she's kind of this persona. But that's something that you shouldn't be mad at Cardi for.
So I think there's a whole different side of this. Country artists always lean into that stuff all the time. I'm from a small town, backwoods. It's a stereotype. They're perpetuating this thing. They may or may not be, but sometimes that's where they come from. They're that type of person, and it's what they are. It's their ratchet, but people don't talk shit about that. People don't go like, oh, well, Trace Adkins doesn't really drink grain alcohol. They don't give a shit. It's a whole different thing.
I have a comment to that. And I think it's crazy because I'm a part of this group, which some of y'all know. And in that group, there's a lot of like really interesting debate about politics and stuff. So it's interesting to me that you just said that, Jim, because it made me think about something. Certain white people who are like anti-liberal always make statements about black people being like ratchet or violent, but you never hear black people talk about redneck behavior. We don't do it. We don't criticize.
Part of Georgia, do black people not talk about?
I mean, in Atlanta, look, where I'm from, I don't hear like you say stuff like oh, you can't dance. That's but we don't talk about like how rednecks are so like fucked up, and we don't do that.
No.
We don't do that because it's interesting because. When I was talking about this exact same situation to somebody in that group, and they were basically saying that they were, I can't word for word, but it's almost like she didn't deserve. They were talking about her interviewing Biden. And it was basically like, because she's ratchet, she doesn't have the right to interview him. It's almost like, she doesn't deserve a voice because she's ratchet, but we would never say that about anyone
of those good old boys.
Right. And I mean, like, you still are American. You have a vote. You have a voice. And it doesn't matter where you come from. Your voice clearly matters. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be in the whole like snafu that we're in right now. So
and God I just think that's interesting. Diverse. God forbid you put two people that aren't exactly the same together. Like, how dare you?
Yeah. In America. Okay, which makes me actually. So now I'm going to move to another topic. Now, this is like 4 different current events at once, but they all are interconnected. So I'm going to kind of talk about them. All right. For one, so this whole mess with Trump and these elections and these results and these recounts. Okay. So if you don't, I don't even know everything that's happened, but for one, Georgia recounted for the 3rd time and Biden still won. I guess they're going to do a 4th. And the Supreme Court, one of the cases actually got up to the Supreme Court, but they kicked it back. They're like, no, there's no basis. There's no evidence of voter fraud. Bye. So now all these Trump loyalists, which are the attorney generals of about like 4 or 5 states, are suing the turnover, the flip states. Pennsylvania, I think it was Pennsylvania. I know Georgia was one. I don't have the others.
I think it's 17
Michigan.
states.
It's 17 states.
Wisconsin.
I thought the lawsuit was only from Texas, but I think the other people support the lawsuit.
Yeah.
And to me, this is very clearly, I don't want to say the word, but it starts with tree. Kind of
treasonous. I'll say it.
I don't like that word. It makes me feel so cringy. But I don't like to fucking say it. But it is. It's to me. I'm like, and he said he's going to hold a rally on the day of inauguration. So you're, in my opinion, please correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody in the comments too. You're rallying your base to believe that the election was rigged and that we lost it because of cheating. Now you have actual government officials agreeing with you. People who hold positions of power in the Republican Party, in Senate, Mitch McConnell, right? And then people are like, oh, it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's not going to happen. I'm like, bro, did y'all forget about the 1800s? What happened in that? Or am I the only one that remember what happened? Like, so then after all that, you're going to actually have a rally the day of inauguration. Does that not sound like you're having your own inauguration? So you're basically trying to start another fucking government right here. You're attempting a coup.
That's still trying to get those Obama numbers. He's still trying to get those.
I'm not
Obama
necessarily sure if it's necessarily a coup.
Oh, okay. Everybody. Okay, so I heard Danny groan. I think Chris said that's not necessarily a coup. And
I mean, Trump will say it's a coup and that he is now the president of the United States. He has taken over, and he'll say like his hundreds of thousands of people that were there that helped him overtake, and now he's in the White House, and he'll say all of those things, and his base will buy it. But it won't be true because that's just how Trump do. I do think it borders on seditious behavior. If he weren't the president right now,
help me with seditious behavior.
All right, so seditious. So treason is actually going against, right? So like you actually do the thing. Sedition is trying to work up other people to join you against whatever the authority is, right? So like if I say in the military, right? If I decide to help the enemy and I attack my own troops or my own unit or whatever, that's treason. If I go around and keep talking to all the soldiers about like, man, this commander is bullshit. He's going to get us killed. We need to do something about it. We need to get together and band together and get rid of him somehow. That's sedition, right? So, and not a perfect example, but so that's the idea, right? Is what Trump is doing right now is he is trying to gather that that sort of feeling and kind of rile his base up, in this way. So if then he does have the thing and they do decide to do something, which I really highly doubt, then that would have been like sedition leading to treason. But honestly, I just think he's just being Trump.
Well, the Trump isn't the part that worries me. It's all the support that I'm bothered by.
Well, I think when he is he's going to be forced out, but when he is forced out, there's going to be so many things that he is vulnerable to not being president anymore that I think people try to not think about or don't think about those things. I mean, Twitter could take him off Twitter tomorrow on January 21st because of the things that he says on there. Yeah. And not being the president and having easy access to the entire country is not going to give you so much. But like you said, his base isn't going anywhere. There are still a ton of people out there that are on his side still.
And this mentality will become normalized too. So it'll become more normal. It'll get toned down and seem less extreme, but it's become a part of the fabric of our country.
Right. Well, it's interesting, and I just want to throw a few more facts out there before I let the company, because I don't want to forget them, and they're part of this little ball of current events. Georgia's governor, surprisingly, Brian Kemp, has stated to state lawmakers that they will not choose different electors than the ones the people voted for. He's actually saying, fuck Trump. All right, this is what happened.
When Trump threw him up under the mega bus.
I didn't see that. But he basically
learned his lesson.
Man, he's just like, nah, I'm good now. Like,
okay, they had bad blood in the past.
No, I'm just saying, like, he had to play it off, but like, yeah, it was something to the I can't really remember, but it was something to the fact about the coronavirus and whatnot.
It was with shutting it down.
Yeah, shutting down. Oh yeah.
Reopening.
Yeah, and then he was something like, Trump was like, everybody needs to reopen, everybody should reopen, and then he's like, yeah, we should reopen Georgia, and then Trump is like, what's wrong with you? You can't reopen. No one should reopen. And I'm like, really? That's some high school shit right there. I felt so bad for Cap. I was like, oh, bless your heart. How to say that to yourself.
I want to highlight this. Hold that thought, and I'm gonna come right back to you. I want to highlight this comment that's up on the screen from Manacast.com. I don't the spaces. MAGA is not Trump. America First is not Trump. Trump only exists because the people want the things Trump claims to support. This guy has a brain, or this woman has a brain. They choose Trump over dozens of Republicans they could have had who toed the party line much more closely. That I agree with. Trump is not the problem. He is the manifestation. He is the manifestation of the problem. Go ahead, Tamala.
Go, Tamala. Go.
Oh no, I was just commenting on the Kemp situation. I didn't feel bad for him at all. Like he was not thinking about. I didn't. I just felt like he wasn't thinking about the state of Georgia. He was just trying to support this guy who he thought was gonna. Everybody looks for stepping stools, and that's how they base their decisions. And then as soon as he did it, Trump kind of like threw him to the curb, like, you're out there by yourself. It was a dumb idea, even though I'm the one who told you to do it. And so,
I was joking.
It is what it is.
Like, we didn't know if the virus was asymptomatic. I'm like, dude, STDs are asymptomatic. You just don't know what asymptomatic means. Like,
which I believe. I believe that. You were about to say something, Jim?
Well, just about Trump being the figurehead, he's the first person to actually start doing these things. He wanted to have like military parades. He's putting money in his pocket through the government, all this kind of stuff. He's just the first one to have the balls to do it. That's why he's so popular.
But some of the stuff, well, not some of the stuff, I don't have a problem with a military parade. I don't really know many Americans. I'm sure there's some people out there who are like, oh, fuck the military. But I don't think a lot of Americans feel that way about the military. One thing I do get upset with is how people, what is it, when you conflate the military with the police? I don't like that because they're not the same.
It's more about the show of power thing. I'm just saying about autocratic things that he's done.
Power to me.
Say that again.
It's even a completely different. I mean, I grew up with a father who was APD for 40 years, and it's a completely different type of thing, being a police officer or a police, of the police versus of the military. So it's completely different. And for when people do mix it too, and I never have served, and I was only a daughter of a cop, it irritates, and people are just like, no, they're completely two different ball games.
But I get what Jim is saying about the display of power. I think the display, as far as Trump, that's what he wants to show is this America has right. But it's crazy.
Autocratic things, right? Not necessarily specifically military parades. That's just the first thing that popped into my head.
But it's crazy to me because, having done Talk It Out, I've actually got an opportunity to discuss things with people who don't live in this country. And it was incredible, their response to our election. It's like the whole world went, that's literally, and that in and of itself says a lot. Like, I don't think the country I think the world, I'm sorry, I don't think the world questions our might. I think they question our empathy.
We don't have any of that. What's that?
What is that? And so I just feel like, because I think for so long in America, side note, because I had someone tell me that we need more diversity on this show, and I just need to remember. If you know anybody who disagrees with this kind of stuff or whatever, they are more than welcome to come on the show, but they have to come on the show. Like, I can't get that kind of diversity if only certain people are like brave enough to show up to the conversation. Anyway, having said that, I think that when it comes to the state of the world, like we want to come off, because we feel like as long as we're the toughest in the playground, we'll have less conflict. But it's actually the opposite. Like we have a lot of people that hate us because we're the toughest in the playground, and I just don't think that's productive. When you look at the state of the world, like the real issues, like what's happening to our environment, which always is like the last thing on the table. But like if we get to a point to where we can't eat or go outside or and it happens rapidly. No shit. Yesterday, I was outside raking leaves and it was snowing. Today it was like 78 degrees. And what's crazy is it was snowing. It was snowing. There wasn't no clouds in the sky.
It's already snowed in Atlanta. It's
and I'm north of Atlanta and it has not snowed here. I'm just saying. So y'all, people have like gotten by on this whole like, oh, it's not gonna happen to us. It's gonna happen in like our grandkids' lives. No, it's not.
Well, I mean, I remember people talking about financial collapses, and I remember, whether you're talking with your own grandfather or somebody else's grandfather, like, that's never gonna happen. But like, this has happened twice in my adulthood, and I'm not even 40 years old yet. Right. And so I think environmentally, when you look at things, you have to like, are there preventative measures that we can take for anything? And science says that there are, but there's so much, greed and a good old boy system and looking out for somebody that it's just, there's so much money involved that they're just brushed under the rug or just told that it's not going to happen, but it is going to happen. And everything in our lives has shown us that it has and it will. So, I mean, the fact that people don't want to act as far as taking preventative measures is crazy. But even when you break that down, and shift kind of into COVID and how people kind of react towards that, like, and I talk to a lot of Republicans and a lot of conservatives and a lot of people who 99.7%, It's like, what about Biden taking a mask mandate or whatever? It's like, I troubleshoot a problem. Right. So if you got a problem, you got to do this, and this. Now, if you do all of that and then you still have a problem, then, okay, we can move forward in a different direction. But if you still have like a problem and the problem with COVID is much bigger now, you got to go look back at the list. What do we not do? But
that's the thing about it. You have to in that scenario that you just described, people have to be willing to fix the problem. The people that you're talking about don't see a problem. That's the issue. They're like, oh, well, it's only one. They're finding all these reasons why it's not a problem because not that many people are dying. They're not hearing the dying. They're hearing many. You know what I'm saying? So that's the issue. It's like, okay, because what you just described is a group of people getting together, trying to find out the best way to solve a problem and either coming to terms with it or not coming to terms with it and then reworking it. But you have everybody coming to the table like, oh, there's no issue. And so this is just part of what this country, and something I think we'll talk about later in the show, part of what this country stubs its toe on is its inability to, once again, empathize with other people and then think about how we can fix these problems. If it's not a problem for you, but it could be a problem for your generations to come, it's still a problem worth fixing. The earth is gonna, like, stars, they explode. That's what happens to stars. So it's gonna happen. But if you study science, or if you believe in science, whatever, but the way the science tells it is before the star explodes, Earth will become too hot to inhabit anyway. So we won't even be here when the supernova happens. However, we can actually speed up the rate that the Earth heats up. And it seems like that's what we want to do. But it's not even just that we don't care, in my opinion. It's also that we're lazy. Because do you not remember in high school they told you when you get the Coke in the little thing that comes on the Coke, the plastic things, they told you to cut them? Who does that? Like, who actually does that? I do now. Like a week ago I started because someone pointed that out to me because I was doing an interview for the spot and they were telling me how sea turtles, they eat jellyfish. And sometimes when they see trash in the ocean, they think that's jellyfish and they eat it and they die. And I'm just like, damn, we don't think about that kind of stuff. So like that's also part of it. It's just like how much difficult, like you know how much trash I see on the side on the roads, which tells me that you had it in your car, and instead of just waiting to wherever you were going and throw it away, you just threw it out the window. Just threw it out the window.
Yeah, but
I hate it.
It took me like 30 seconds to figure out what you were saying because I haven't had like a 6-pack of soda or.
I thought about it too. I was like, wait a minute, what thingy?
Should have said beer.
All those things. Yeah,
I should have said
or
beer
or anything because I had glass bottles. But I mean, still, you know, I was just like, oh yeah, the dolphins, the turtles.
They still exist though. But okay, so this actually brings me to another topic that I want to talk about for tonight. So these vaccines. How are we feeling about the vaccines?
I ain't doing it.
You know, black people don't like vaccines.
It's crazy.
I don't even like needles. Only thing I can do with tattoos. Don't even take my blood. Just let me die. Okay. Don't give me no damn vaccine. I'm good.
Well, they have a vaccine. Go ahead.
I said I'm gonna wait. You know, as far as the vaccines go, you know, let's see how that works for a little bit and see how they go about implementing it because it's just all talk. And kind of segueing into the topic of the show was didn't Letitia Wright just get canceled because of she posted a video with
she didn't get canceled because of the vaccine part. She got canceled because of the transphobia in the video.
Oh, okay. So I think there was other topics, but she was only really talking about one thing or whatnot.
The issue is that the issue is that when you read the article, the issue people had was not with the anti-vaccine stuff. It was who was rattling around that ice?
Michael,
loud as hell.
Sounds so good. I'm so thirsty now.
There is a mute
So
button.
thirsty.
And the ice tastes good too.
I know.
Right. So Letitia Wright, she basically was like, okay, I think she shared a video, and in the video, the guys were disproving the science behind the vaccine using people who accept transgendered people, like will honor their pronouns and such, which is really the difference between like being respectful and understanding and just being a dick. If you ask me, it has nothing to do with science. It's like, and you talk. I'm not gonna do that. That's another episode. Okay. So with the vaccine, what I'm understanding is that they're running trials already. They've ran trials. We have FDA has approved the vaccine for emergency use in America, or I think they're going to approve it for that. And the thing about vaccines is this is the process that they have to go through really to become used. There has to be the test and the trials and the test, and those people who are out there who are brave enough to do all that. Honestly,
they skipped the rats. They skipped the lab, Mike.
No, because you can't skip it.
They did. They just got this.
You said they skipped the rat.
They take 5 years to develop. They tested on a shit ton of other things before they start poking us with it. No.
Oh, I do think it's rushed. But you know why it's rushed?
How long it takes to develop a vaccine?
Right. That's what the article I read said. It said usually it takes decades to develop a vaccine.
And I gave it on the low end. I said at least 5 years.
Right. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have said 5, but yeah, I would have said 5. A good one. It's been less than a year.
Do you remember chemistry in school?
No, I do want to say this though.
Letters I do want to say this though. Didn't say fuck this. People
Here's the thing though, Georgia.
Take time to do that.
Here's the only thing that I will say that gives me a little bit of to play the devil's advocate. You have to remember, COVID-19 is just a different strand of SARS, severe auto-respiratory syndrome, and this is the 19th strand of COVID.
No, it happened in 2019. That's why it's COVID-19.
Is that why it's 19?
It originated in 2019.
But this is not the first strand of it, though. That's my point.
No, it's a COVID-19. Oh, the COVID.
I get that. I'm saying that it's not the first strand of it. I was watching that on the news. I know that.
It's a strand that we ain't never had before. Okay, what about
it? Yeah.
It's a strand that they've never had before, but COVID is not new. The coronavirus.
Are you certain of that?
Coronavirus is not a new thing.
Correct.
It's not I'm sorry. COVID and corona, I'm not sure what the difference is, but I know coronavirus is not new.
COVID-19 is a type of coronavirus.
Yes.
It is part of the same family of viruses because they have a crown.
Thank you for the clarity, but that's what I was trying to say. Y'all knew what I was trying to say. Anyway, y'all just want to be, y'all just trying to embarrass me on my show.
That crackhead uncle, and COVID is the crackhead uncle. Okay, this is exactly what COVID is. The part of a family. It's got a crackhead uncle, and everybody always said you can't get rid of the crackhead uncle. So I'm not taking the virus that y'all just figured out like in a couple months. I mean, vaccine. No.
But yeah,
initially when go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say initially with COVID, there were podcasts that were getting demonetized because people were saying coronavirus, so, and they were like, oh, well, we can't say that, and there was like a whole thing about it because there's trademarks for it and all this stuff, and this all software and technology we use picks up on the algorithms pick up on that, so it flags these things, and that makes me speculate whether it's 19 really being, because it was a 19, or it was the 19th rendition of something that came out of a lab. And so I was asking Jim, like, what was how certain are you of that? Because I research a lot of stuff, but I also forget a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I heard it from a credible source, in my opinion, but I didn't ask a scientist because I know people were saying, Duryea, you're on mute.
What are we debating? Thank you.
He was just asking where I got the idea of that it happened in 2019. It originated in 2019, and I was just saying that it came from a credible source. From what it
could be that my understanding wasn't that it was necessarily the 19th strand. What I was to understand that this is not coronavirus. It's not new. So this is something that could have already had or a different strand of it. Like, the flu vaccine for next year is a whole new strand of flu that they're fighting. But the reason they can come up with that vaccine so quickly is because it's based off of vaccine they already have. So that's part of the reason that I'm kind of like, maybe that's why it was quick.
No, I think, listen, I follow, I cannot think of her name, but I follow her because she's African-American, and she has been leading the study on the vaccine, finding the vaccine.
Not that one lady, right?
Say what now?
Not that Trump lady. Talking about her?
No. Okay. No. No, you tried it, but it's just being rushed. And here's my thing: I am supportive of the vaccine itself, but I am not supporting them rushing it. Like, we just need to be a little more patient.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. I have your answer. The new name of this disease is coronavirus disease 2019, abbreviated as COVID-19. In COVID-19, CO stands for corona, V stands for virus, D stands for disease. Formerly, this disease was referred to as 2019 novel coronavirus, or 2019-nCoV. That's the CDC.
Yep.
That is my favorite thing about this show, is that mid-show we can Google, and it's not a big deal.
I was going to ask
further.
We're not experts.
Hey, further, the other, further.
I'm going to say some words after
further. The other name, official designation from the World Health Organization, is SARS-CoV-2, because it is closely related to the original SARS-CoV, SARS coronavirus. So, Duryea, there you go.
So we were all kind of right. We were all kind of right. We were all dancing around the same thing. The point is that this is not something that has been that's like, oh my God, this whole new thing that we have no idea what it is. Let's try to fix it. It's something that they have
a jumping off point.
Yeah, they have a jumping off point. So it does make sense to me that they would have a vaccine relatively quick, because there was a spike in SARS. Like, what was that, like in early 2000s?
Well, I know they had a playbook. They had a playbook.
A playbook?
For literally something like this. The Obama-Biden administration had given them the instructions, because they went through H1N1, the swine flu.
Right.
So they at least had an idea, and they gave them here's step one through, whatever.
And they just didn't follow it because Obama came up with it, of course.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit a few more of these. Which one do I want to do next? Not that one. I want to talk about, let's talk about that. I was going to, these other honorable mentions, I'll mention them at the end. All right. Oh, this is what I want to talk about. So in Georgia, state Republican leadership wants to do away with drop boxes, and they want to limit absentee voting. In Georgia, they are trying to make it harder to vote, essentially. Wrap that up. They're trying to make it harder to vote in Georgia, to where basically you can only vote in person unless you meet these whatever criteria. And of course, once they make it to where you can only vote in person, they're going to make it really hard. They're going to space out the places, make you have to wait in line for like how many hours. So voter suppression at its finest. I don't want to talk about this unless anyone wants to say something. I just wanted to drop that one before we move away from
I'm gonna point something out on it though, because it's standard Republican GOP playbook, right? Is we're gonna like find all these reasonable reasons why it shouldn't be this or it shouldn't be that. Meanwhile, reality is we've had all this, we've had all that, and Trump's FBI and Trump's Justice Department and Trump's Supreme Court. It's Trump's Supreme Court. Don't think it ain't, because he put 3 people on that motherfucker, and all of them are just like, no, it's fine. Everything worked. Everything did okay. So there's no reason for anyone to think like, oh, this is going to be a source of fraudulent voting or anything, because it hasn't. And even Trump's like appointed people all agree. It's just at the very top, this craziness. But it is about voter suppression, and this is why. So Dury, earlier you're saying something about like people don't agree, and we can't get things done because of that. It's not that. It's that, like, in the United States, and I was looking up, 63% of Americans, 63% of them, this is Pew's research, say that climate change is currently affecting their local community, right? So 63% of Americans agree it's a thing and it's a problem. We should probably do something about it. There was 63% of U.S. adults say the government has the responsibility to provide health care coverage for all. That's not Obamacare. That's universal. So that's 63% of Americans. That's a majority, right? And you look, and you can just see all of these issues where it's like there's this majority, and you start wondering, well, if that's what Americans want, why are we not doing that? And it's because the GOP has taken over. They have, and then once they get in place, they're like ticks, they embed their fucking head in there, and they start passing all these rules that, voter suppression rules, gerrymandering the districts so that they can stay in power. And so what ends up happening is that the Democratic or the left-leaning voice or whatever is minimized, and the power of the Republican voices are increased. And then you get McConnell, who's up there. Congress, the House of Representatives, is sending bills over. They're doing their job, and McConnell just sits on it. And the problem is that, like, he just sits on it. He doesn't even put it out for a vote, because the reason is that if it actually goes out for a vote, then they have to vote on it, right? Mm-hmm. So now I'm a Republican. You hear this all the time, like especially with the ones that are kind of in weaker states. They're like, oh, are they going to go with the Republican line, or are they, because this is really bad for them if they vote like Republican, their people are going to be like, hey, we actually wanted the other thing, and that it could hurt their chances for re-election. So instead of allowing that to happen, McConnell is just saying, oh, we're not voting on this. And it's just like, that's why they're going there to die, right? He's the Grim Reaper. So it's just like that whole thing. It just it's all part and parcel of the GOP's kind of just how they are maintaining. It's not America as a nation entirely is more progressive, desiring, and left-leaning, and especially as more and more younger people are getting into politics and reaching adulthood, and
it's the gerrymandering. He hit the nail on the head. That's why it's because the people that represent their people don't actually represent their views.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about voter fraud, voter suppression, and voter fraud, I think talking about voter fraud, we should highlight. I take the opportunity to talk about voter suppression just as a national conversation, because that's definitely a huge thing now. Is voter fraud real? Yeah, that's real too, but I don't, it's not to the claims that, I think that they're making it, but it's definitely a great opportunity to really kind of talk about those things more, because yeah, that's just a part and parcel of just politics and drowning that out, and people discount it. And as far as we say, Georgia was trying to prevent people, find more ways to suppress voters. I just find that part very interesting. That's actually
right. Well, you have to like Georgia is like, other than the capital, it's very like Republican. So I think a lot of people there are surprised that we had
Athens, Savannah, Columbus. There are a lot of blue.
You look at Columbus. I'm sorry. There's when you
wait. Last time I went to Savannah, all I saw was Trump.
Anybody who's not from Georgia, let me help you understand it. Right? If you talk about Georgia, when you list certain cities, I'm going to list them for you, and these are going to be the cities that he's talking about: Atlanta, Macon, Columbus, Athens, Augusta, and Savannah. Those cities are the cities. Everywhere else in Georgia is not a city. So those are the cities. So of course, but those have been cities for years still, because the rest of Georgia is very red.
Very
red. They're very red. So I think what happened is you realize the only way that flip could have happened is because of two factors, other than Stacey Abrams. Two factors. One, the influx of artists coming to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. But that's if they're not voting absentee in their home states. If they're voting as an Atlanta register or a Georgia resident. That's one reason. The other reason is that Republicans in that state didn't want Trump there. And that's really what scares them. Because they know that that's probably more likely what flipped the state than these new artists coming and making that big of a difference. So, all right. A few more things, some honorable mentions. Sad news, Ellen DeGeneres tested positive for COVID-19, and they shut down production on the show, which is a good thing because the show is, I didn't know that the show was actually, not that she got COVID-19. It's good that her show is up and running, because I thought that, because of the allegations of racial stuff happening behind the scenes, that she was going to lose her show. But my understanding was that she had nothing to do with those. They just were happening under her nose. So people felt like she should have handled it. But I assume that worked out. I'll find out more and I'll get back to you. But so thoughts go to her. J.K. Rowling made an announcement that, what did she say? She said 90% of her fans agree with her transphobia. No, they don't. They do not. Okay.
90% of the fans she has left.
Yeah. That is correct. With that, yeah, you're probably right with that. And the last thing I want to mention, the House voted to decriminalize marijuana. So, yay! However,
it's got to go to Congress.
I was going to say it. However, Mitch McConnell, if Mitch McConnell allows that vote to happen on the House, I will move to Kentucky my damn self and give him another term.
It's on you. No, don't move to Kentucky. It's on you guys right now in Georgia. It is 100% on you guys right now.
I can't vote, Danny.
Majority. No. Okay, not you. Well, then we can't go to Kentucky either, then, huh? So, but
maybe I can't. I don't know about Kentucky.
Everybody's got to get out there because you guys got the votes for your Senate seats, right?
True.
They have to do the whole thing again. So that can potentially flip the Senate.
The Senate, which I heard that the Loeffler and what's his name, Warrenhoff,
Purdue.
Their debate.
Raphael Warnock.
Yeah, I heard about the debate. I heard the debate was a little underwhelming on both sides, which is upsetting.
Well, because what are they going to say at this point? They've made their points.
Okay.
Yeah, she's corrupt. Everybody thinks he's like super left wing. Those are the points that they've made against each other.
Don't y'all hate when they just talk shit about each other instead of like themselves?
See, that's the thing. In the debate, Loeffler was she basically was a computer program. She would be like, "This is about the American dream. It's fully within the president's rights to take all the legal actions," and she would just repeat these things over and over and over again. And it's what the Republicans seem to be playing that hand
because they know that's what the country wants to hear.
Well, no, they know that they can get around with just saying that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. So our last main topic, which I'm gonna be curious how long this conversation lasts. There's a teen in West Texas who got suspended from school for wearing fingernail polish in class. He's gay, but he was wearing fingernail polish, and apparently it was in the dress code that boys specifically are not allowed to wear makeup or fingernail polish. So he was suspended, and so basically he was on Good Morning America trying to get that overturned and everything. He's making a big deal about it being like violation of basically discriminatory. So I want to know how we feel, because some people, the argument, I've heard two sides of it, and I kind of agree with both. One side of it's like, that's clearly sexism, not sexism, but what was the word I need?
Discrimination. It's gender discrimination.
It's gender discrimination. Yeah, it's clearly that. And the other half of the conversation is, yeah, but he knew what the dress code said and still showed up anyway out of dress code.
No. That's how you fight the stupid shit that happens, right? So like, if Congress passes a law, the only way it gets to the Supreme Court is somebody does the shit, and then they get clapped on it, and then they take it to court. That's how they do that stuff. So if the rule says, hey, you can't wear fingernail polish because you're a dude, then you're gonna go. You're not gonna go in the principal's office and be like, this is discriminatory. They're gonna be like, yeah, get out of here. Especially West Texas. So what you do is you do it, you get kicked out, and then you know this whole like, let your rights be trampled. You know the rules. Come on now.
Yeah,
Come on, that is not obedience. The
thing is, you do know the rules, so you have to decide what you're going to do to bring awareness to it. So, are you just going to bite the bullet so that you can get what he's getting right now, which is a publicity, so that people like you and I can talk about it, and then basically the school will probably end up changing their rule, because at the end of the day, no one wants to take that much heat about it, but. I mean, you do know the rules. So you have to decide, what are my options to bring awareness to this and to have it changed. So, hey, you're suspended. Put it out here and into the air, into media, so that people can see it and put pressure on the school to make a difference, and then see where you can go from there.
PJ, you were trying to say something?
What's that?
I thought you were trying to say something.
No, but I am curious. Do we know if this was a private school? Was this a public school?
I don't know for certain, but the way the report seemed is that it was a public school. But I don't know. That's a good question. What would that make a difference?
Given the history of where American private schools come from, it could say a lot about those rules.
Yeah, I mean, here's why they are private. You send your children there for a specific set of reasons and rules and policies and procedures. So if you're sending your kid to a school where boys don't wear fingernail polish, and that's what 95% of the student body is paying for, then.
But my question is this: if you have a rule like that in a private school, it's still discriminatory, yes?
Yeah, but
but you're paying to be in that circle. You're paying your money to be a part of that.
The discrimination. What if it was like what
their standards and
that's what I'm saying. What if it wait.
For some people, it can be just them being conservative, and they might want their children in a conservative environment. They might not even necessarily disagree with it. They just might not want their child around those other things 24/7. Not saying that's right or that's wrong, but if you're paying your money for a certain thing within a certain organization, that is their set of rules. We're not talking about something that's funded by the state or something else. Like I said, I'm not saying that is right. I don't give a damn. I mean, I know straight guys, emo guys who've been wearing black college for God knows how long before Queen even started wearing it.
Listen,
so
like
it don't
I
bother me none. But
I've seen more straight men.
For example, let's just change the subject. If I'm a Christian, I actually used to go to a Christian school. If I am paying $1,000 for my kids to go to a Christian school, do I really want emo Jeff coming up in there with black fingernail polish, the upside down Pentagon?
Wait, Georgia, listen, let me ask you a question. So when it comes to that situation, what if I'm not paying for my kid to go here because of it's conservative? What if I'm like, they get into good colleges from there, or this is the best school?
Then you might need to pick a different school, because
that's not fair. I want my kid.
Let me say. Cardi B cannot
Let me say though. Okay, so it's like this. if I'm not picking this school because it is of their conservative views, I'm just like, I want my kid to go to the best school that's here, like education wise, and this is the best school and I can afford it. And my school, but I don't want my kid to feel like he can't be himself. So this discriminatory thing, we absolutely are going to pay to come to this school, but we're also going to try to fight that rule.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah, I don't think. I'm sorry.
Because you're going to you're specifically going to this well-known school that you know is not only known for being a very amazing Ivy League school, but they're known for being conservative. They bring in their people, they bring in their money based on them being conservative. You think you're gonna walk through their doors just because your little Johnny want to wear pink fingernail polish is gonna change their day?
How you know it's pink?
They have so much, but they don't care about little Johnny. They will pay little Johnny to go somewhere else with his pink nail polish. I promise you.
Michael?
I was going to say that I don't think anybody is sending their kids to that school for the basis of their fingernail policy. So, I mean, I think that's just something that's kind of just in the bylaws of the school or whatever, on some of the rules. And in order for that to be changed, somebody does need to fall on the sword for it. But it really goes back to just the picking and choosing of when these things are going to be enforced and how that is used to discriminate against people. So be it gender, be it race, be it, it's like, oh, well, you know, we've always had this law here, or we've always had this bylaw over here, and I don't care most of the time, but you know, yeah, well, let's look and let's find something over here, you know, for that. And that's why I think that situation is specifically that. No, I just think it's, you know, West Texas conservative type stuff. Because, I mean, I'm in Texas and I know how we get down over here. But yeah, no, it definitely kind of speaks to picking and choosing, and it also speaks to just the progression of what we need to do and what needs to do to eradicate some of these problems and show how that stuff is dated and kind of update. And this school like this and other schools needs to kind of update what's going on to not, you know, be that way, because I don't think fingernails, you know, are leading to anything bad or breaking a reputation or sullying a reputation of a prestigious educational institution.
On that, what I just posted, I just want to make a quick note.
Danny cheated, y'all. Anyone who's at home or listening, I'm gonna tell y'all, a panelist just cheated the show. He posted it on the chat instead of saying it live.
No, I'm saying it right now too, and so everyone can see it, right?
It's
so
cheating.
All right, but I want to make a note so no one thinks that this just means, oh, they can't discriminate. So this is, they can't discriminate on those bases for admission or in hiring. And it says or in anything else, okay. But what happens if they do discriminate is that they lose their nonprofit status, which indicates to me that if you're a private school that is not a nonprofit, you can certainly make up whatever rules you want.
And just for the listeners, he is talking about Title IV of the Civil Rights Act, which says, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. It says, and upheld by the Supreme Court, no private school can discriminate on the basis of race, color, or national origin in admissions or in hiring or anything else. Those that do would lose their nonprofit status from the Internal Revenue Service. But it does say race, color, or national origin. It doesn't say anything about sex. It doesn't say anything about that.
So I have a son who is in a private school. It's an all-boys Christian school, right? So here's the deal about this. I know as a parent, when I walked into that door and I chose that school, I chose it for certain reasons, right? I also, when I sat down before my child started there, they let me know what all of their rules are. They gave me the book. They broke it down for me. So I, as a parent, know what my son can and can't do, right? So if at any point I have a problem with what goes on in those rule books, like the school that he's at, I feel comfortable going and speaking to the headmaster and saying, you know, voicing my concern. But at the end of the day, I can either get with the program or I can choose another program. Because at the end of the day, you know, that's one student compared to the others that you know, pay what they pay. So, I mean.
Or you can take that opportunity to challenge something that maybe your kids feel are wrong.
That is true. That's true. But when I spoke earlier, that's what I said. You have to decide what you feel is right or what rules should or shouldn't be, and then how you want to go about doing them. So at the end of the day, what I would teach my child and the route that I would probably take is to go to the head and speak to them directly, voice my concerns, see are they going to bend or are they not, and let my children know that there are other routes. Because at the end of the day, like, you create your paths. And just because you run into a door, like, that's not the only school. You know what I mean? Like, there are other options for you. And honestly, it is a little more political in the private schooling sector as well, depending on that student, what they're bringing to the school, their parents and what their socioeconomic statuses are, their grades. And so how that includes their numbers, they may be willing to bend a little, but I just say it's however you decide that you want to address it. Some people can fall on the sword and take it, and some others choose different routes.
I have a question. So what if it was, and this is just after this question, we're gonna go to our main topic. What if it was, because we're talking as if it was us dealing with our children and what we're exposing our children to. What if it was our kid, which I don't have one, so the people that do, what if it was your kid that came to you and said, hey, mom, this thing at school really bothers me. I don't want to leave my school because it's my school, my friends, but I don't think it's fair. And they wanted to challenge the rule themselves, because that's what we're really seeing here is that this kid, he wanted to challenge the school. That's why he went to Good Morning America and got that good national publicity, okay? And then his family just supported him in his actions. So what if that was the vibe? What would be the move then?
For me and my child, honestly, you got to know your children and their personalities, and you read into who they're trying to be as they get older. And so, for example, like, you have some kids that are going to go in and break some walls down and really build some new things. And you have some children, it depends. It's two lessons that can be learned there. The other side of it can be, hey, listen, I know that you're not uncomfortable with that, but you have to learn that there are rules. You know what I mean? When you work for certain people, there are rules you have to follow. There are things you can do. Hey, if you want to wear it on the weekends, take it off on Sunday. You know what I mean? Or you can teach them, hey, if you really want to challenge this, which is what his family is going to do, then let's see what our options are. Let's see how we can do this, and then go for it there. I think, honestly, it depends on the family. It depends on the child. Yeah.
Well, that was a great answer. Go ahead, Mike.
It depends if they can afford it. I don't have kids, but I'm thinking if I couldn't afford to, take up the legal battle to do all of this and what was going to happen, I'd be like,
just call Good Morning America.
I was going to say, if you get enough awareness and you get enough support from the media, that'll come.
Yeah.
It depends.
All righty. So we're about to head into our main topic, which is political correctness. Has America gone soft? But before we do that, we're going to pause for a short ad break, about 1 minute.
Hey everybody, my name's Chris.
I'm Duryea.
I'm Ricky Z.
Justin.
And Julian.
Have you heard about Anchor.fm? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. First off, it's free.
Oh, I love free, especially when we're talking creation tools that allow you to record and edit right from your phone and computer.
And Anchor will actually distribute your podcast for you. So as soon as you're finished recording, you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other platforms.
And you can make money off of your podcast with no minimum listenership.
It's basically a one-stop shop for everything you need. So head on over to Anchor.fm and download the mobile app now. And make sure you come back and geek out with us. I know that everyone, musical chairs. I know that everyone may have been overwhelmed by how many handsome men were just on the screen, but three of them may have looked familiar, which would be me, Danny, and Chris on that good Tuesday night episodes of Shadowrun RPG missions. And also every other Monday, we will be doing Geeking Out, which is our sister podcast featuring some other awesome people. We got Ricky backstage right now, running the ones and twos. Please join us. Our next discussion is going to be on something that I decide, which I haven't decided yet, but it'll probably have to do with Christmas because, you know, I love Christmas. All right. I know I love Christmas. All right, everybody. So we're going to talk about political correctness. Has America gone soft? Now, it's crazy. I was talking to a friend of mine, and you know how you have that one friend who like always keeps you accountable, like holds you to the fire? Mm-hmm. This is that friend for me, and I can't stand it. I can't stand it, but it's necessary. But man, so I was telling her about it, and I was just like, yeah, we're doing our next show is political softness. Has America gone soft? I mean, sorry, correctness. Has America gone soft? And she goes, and she got really, she was like, that's a triggering topic. Because for some people, it might land on them in a way to make them feel like even their own feelings were invalid. And I might be phrasing her incorrectly. But essentially, what I think we're seeing a lot of lately in the media, on social media, and in general, is this push for people to be more considerate of how their specifically words affect other people, which are actions. You may not think that, but words are actions, like, especially when they're spoken. So specifically how they affect people, like how am I taking up space, and how does that affect the people around me positively or negatively? Some people feel like that's too much and people are too easy to get offended, and so they just cancel people, and cancel culture is perpetual, and it just creates more of the same, because then it creates resentment, which creates more negative energy. So I was like, this is a good conversation for us to have. So let's start off by just answer the question. Do you think America has gone soft? Yay or nay? We're going to go around in a circle. Danny, quick answer.
No.
Georgia?
Sorry, this food is good.
It looked good.
Yes.
You say yes, Georgia.
A little bit.
Yes. Tamala?
Both.
Jim?
No, it's just become more aware.
Chris?
Yes.
PJ? No. Michael?
Yes.
I'm with Tam. I think it's both.
It's both. I mean, you know, I thought we had, you know, a yes no answer here.
I didn't say yes or no. I just said quick. I just needed to be quick. I said quick. That's what I said. Because I knew it was crazy. Let me tell you why I said quick. Because I said I was answering, and then Danny went like this. And I said, oh, Lord. So I had to say quick so he wouldn't do a Danny. Danny has knowledge, though. All right. So now go ahead. Now you can do a Danny.
It's so no but, right? So the bottom line is that as long as there are fundamental issues going on in the United States, especially in terms of equality and giving people opportunities and the like, no, we haven't gone soft. We have to like look at that and recognize that and make sure that we are just not being the American asshole. But at the same time, we do have to remember, what are we getting upset about when we get upset, like when we feel a certain way, you know? So if a bunch of college sorority sisters all go have an Indian headdress party, like that's different from Cardi B being on the cover, being on a Reebok, you know, ad with you know, like Hindu deific symbolism, right? It's a different thing. Not saying that either are okay, but it's not, you know, it's not the same level of, oh, Cardi B, you totally did this thing, you know, and everybody should like boycott her or whatever. Like, and that's where like things get a little too far. So it's no, we do need to have this awareness and we do need to keep up with that. But we also need to just check ourselves and say, hey, am I just white knighting this shit? You know, am I being mad on behalf of people that maybe aren't that upset about this particular case because of reasons? Or is this like a legitimate thing?
And that's a big thing for you, I noticed, because you were talking about that, either we were having a personal conversation, I think, and you were talking about people shouldn't be offended for other people. There's a difference between that and And what were you saying when you?
So it's the difference between standing up for others and being offended for others, right? Like, so, and the difference is when you've seen it before, where someone will say something and then people will be like, actually, that's not, we're not really mad at that. It's like removing Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben from all the products. Like that's not the fix that people are looking for. Like, people weren't asking for that, but they went ahead and rolled with it.
I think you can't be more mad than the person who's supposed to be offended. You can't be more offended than if you don't have the context of that. You can't be like, all right, well, that makes me more upset than the person that it happened to.
I want to ask a question then, because sometimes people don't know that they should be upset. Do you know what I mean? There are some people who don't know that they should be offended. Candace Owens.
Okay. You can't.
I mean, that's a horrible example. That's a horrible example. But
do keep in mind
no one should be offended.
Do keep in mind that when we talk about people, there's individuals, right? And then there's the greater group, right? So you, like, when I say you can't be offended on behalf of somebody, there is a caveat. You can't say someone's doing that just because they have a Candace Owens that says, I'm not mad at that. It's about like the greater group, the greater sort of organization or society that we're talking about.
I think probably something that would illustrate the point DeRay is trying to make is maybe like Harriet Tubman, how she said that I freed over 100 slaves, but could have freed over 100 more if they had, known that they were actually slaves. And so they have something that they're upset about, but they didn't know that was going on. I mean, to kind of speak on the softness of this country, it's yes, we've gotten soft, but also some people have gotten tough on particular issues. And so it's now it might be perceived as softness, but it's just like, no, this is a real issue, and we have to draw a line in the sand. Eventually, you go ahead.
To piggyback on that, because I was actually thinking that just now, like, actually what some people might be looking at as like softness, because people are being quick to be offended, really is, no, I'm just ready to call you out on that. I want that smoke. If you're going to be offensive, then I'll meet your energy with the same, and we can and whereas before, and I was telling somebody else about being black and from the South. It's funny when you're black and from the South, right? Because both those cultures in America were bred to be
such an oxymoron.
I know, but follow me on this, people. But our behavior, we were told to be polite. Most of our history, we were told to keep our head down, not make noise, don't say just like you see people. You are black people right now are synonymous with being buck, but throughout our history, especially in the South, because Southern people in general are taught to be polite first. But then when you're black and Southern, keep your head down, don't make no trouble. That's part of our tradition, our history. So
I don't know what part you talking about. My dad told me to speak up and be loud.
Right, because in the 60s, but that's when
my
that
dad was born in 33. You remember that?
I'm just saying, look, now I'm just saying there was I don't want to call it an uprising, but the civil rights movement happened and that did change it, but it doesn't change the fact that part of our history, for most of the time we were in this country, we were taught to do the opposite of that. So it is still part of our behavior, even though we don't know it. Because why is it that the gay dude at Thanksgiving has to call this guy his friend for so long? That kind of stuff. We're still taught to be that way behaviorally, to kind of just don't bring up the glaring issue.
That's why I'd say things have become more aware, with the internet and with people being able to see different cultures and blah, blah, blah. That's why I think when you say somebody doesn't know they're offended, well, if they don't know, somebody else who does understand the offense in it will teach that person, then they can become offended.
Not always, because sometimes the reason that fucks up, sometimes even when they try to teach that person, this person still isn't there, ready, willing, whatever it is. And other times, like, people can be it's interesting. People can be people who are
sorry, I'm laughing at the Facebook comment.
People who are very what's the word I'm going to say? Some people who are woke are very impolite to people who are not. especially people who are like them and who aren't woke. Like, it's like, I'm woke and I'm black, and you're not woke and you're black, and then they get really offensive. And
I was talking about an authentic. This was like my optimistic. I was talking about.
But sometimes I guess my point was to say, Jim. I guess my point was to just say this real quick. Sometimes people who are woke feel like it's not their responsibility to
wake everybody else up. Let them sleep.
Sometimes they're nice though. Sometimes they're still nice about it. They're not going to wake you up, but they're nice. But sometimes they're not nice about it. And so when a person does take the effort to wake somebody up, it's generally a courtesy.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's the scenario I was talking about when it's a good thing that they get, because people like you made the point 1,000 times. I don't even.
No, I don't know what you're about to say.
People, impress their wokeness on other people without it being wanted.
Right. Okay, so here's my question. So for political correctness sake, because you have all these things that are like circumstantial, like there's this whole debate, and I don't want to go because I don't want to get offensive. I don't think with this group of people we will. There's this whole debate about pronouns, and why shouldn't we use people's pronouns? Like, it's like, if someone was assigned the wrong gender at birth and then they decide to get that reassigned, but as a person, I know that, why should I even acknowledge that? People think that way. And
I think it boils down to political correctness, to my knowledge, was something that was just created to bring some sort of kindness and respect to people speaking. Correct? So like, to me, it just boils down to that. I think what I love about the times now is people are more vocal than they've ever been. So that's why I say, no, we haven't quite gone soft. But then at the same time, people are so shut off. Like right now, what we're doing, having these conversations and being able to say how we feel, and people can hear that even if they don't agree with it. That's not the reality for the majority of life now. And that's why I say we've gone soft, because we can't hear each other and communicate with each other anymore. But I think it just boils down to, can you communicate in a way that's respectful? Like, you can say how you feel and what you believe, but are you being kind? Are you being respectful? Are you saying it in a way that can be receptive to the people that you're talking to if they think or look or are different than you? It just boils down to respect and kindness.
Sometimes respect and kindness aren't the tools you need to get the job done, though.
Understood, but it's because of that.
See, I think political correctness, that term has been it's been abused, because there was a time when it directly related to conversations about the government and the conducting of the government. And that's important because we have such a long history of sexist and racist systems within our government. That's why it's important. Like, I'm a diabetic because I had a bad diet. So I mistreated my body. So now sugar is very dangerous to my system. The same way dialogue like this can be very dangerous to the way our government runs. Now, if we're talking about just being rude to each other, no, you can say whatever the hell you want. But when it comes to running the government, we have to be careful there.
My slow stuff really thought we were going to be talking about political correctness. Like,
wow. How, Sway? How?
Because I told you I'm this weird nerdy girl who likes Baby Yoda, but has like a tweak of conservativeness with her. Like,
and I don't like Baby Yoda, by the way.
A little bit.
Not the conservativeness is what's confusing for me when it comes to you. I get it, but for me, so for the yesers, people who said yes, we've gone soft. Let's go around. Why and in what way have we gone soft?
You know what I always tell my kiddos that when I'm teaching them, when I'm like subbing, I'm like, you know what, kiddos, you would be so much happier if you just mind your own business and just let other people act stupid and just smile and keep going.
You say that to children?
I sure do, and that's why they love me, because they know I'm crazy. I tell them I will start twitching if you start talking. I will write you up. They know.
You're being real with them. You're being real with them.
Jim.
They need to hear.
Thank you. So I tell them you would be so much happier with yourself if you let little Johnny eat crayons. Because if he wants to turn his teeth rainbow coalition colors, then let him. Why are you so worried about it? Now I do get it when it's a bigger issue and it's affecting people and it's extreme, but a lot of this stuff is political correctness, is people just nagging about it, a bunch of stuff because I'm not awoke enough or I don't talk. But we've had this conversation about being a Black person that Black people don't consider Black. I'm so politically incorrect with so many Black people. I talk too nice. I talk too proper. My hair is too good. My nose is too small. Like there's nothing. I don't even like chicken. I can't sing and I can't braid hair. Okay. Like I am everything probably that is not Black, like other than my skin tone. But for people, I'm so
Black.
They try to literally, both my babies are biracial. And I have been told, well, you don't know how to appreciate a Black man. First of all, who I want to live between my legs is my business. It's nobody else's business who I decided to procreate with. But for some people, I'm not Black enough because I have biracial children. So it boils down to people need to mind their own freaking business. When it comes to what someone else wants to do with their personal stuff, for example, I'm not for abortions personally, but I damn sure will hold someone's hand and go to abortion clinic. That's what they feel like they need to do. I don't understand how people just can't have that sense of, you know what, if you feel this way, I might not agree with it, but I'll respect you. Do you? If you mess yourself up, oh well. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being mean. People tell me I'm mean. I know I'm mean.
No.
So for all you guys who said yes, you feel like we've gone too soft. Let me ask you this: what's wrong with that? The world is dangerous enough. What would be so wrong if we were all softer?
What does soft even mean?
It's very open-ended.
Can we define soft? I want a tangent.
Let's define soft. When we say, I want to stick with PJ's question.
Are we
that's a
saying
great
easily
question.
offended?
I just don't feel like I can answer his question until we define it.
Okay, so
before we get into that, do you mind if I say something?
Go ahead.
Because I was bringing up wokeness, and one thing that's probably just detrimental to society as a whole is like fake woke people or people that just kind of like want to be woke, but they don't know what the hell they're really being woke about. And it's like a 5-year-old with a gun, and it's just like you're kind of ruining it for everybody, dude. So that type of stuff does cause tend to be.
But listen though. I feel like there's different levels to being woke. Okay, point in case. I am recently understanding the difference between not being racist and being anti-racist, and that they're not the same thing. Someone who's not racist still contributes to the racist system without knowing it. But someone who's anti-racist is actively doing things to dismantle racism, whether it's reading. And when I say there's levels to it, it's like there's that person who has no conscious or overt bias against other races, right? But they're not doing anything to help. They're not doing anything. And then they find out about these things. They read literature, they have conversations, they make posts, they go to these, and then even through that, there's still another book they can read, another conversation they can have. And the more they do this, the more and more conscious you become. Because the way I look at consciousness, I don't look at consciousness the way of like politically conscious. I look at it more like spiritually conscious. So there's all these levels of thinking and becoming awakened to the things around you in nature. So you can never really stop waking up to things, because once you stop waking up to things, you're God. So
or dead.
Yeah. which arguably is becoming
We're
God.
not going there.
I'm just saying, arguably, they say you go back to, whether it's you go back to nature, science, or you go back to God. Either way, it's being one with everything. So my point is, damn it, George, I forgot my point.
What
was I saying?
Thank you, Danny. What is soft? Because you went on, we were defining woke.
I was defining, yes, being woke. When it comes down to being conscious, it's like you have these people who are, I get what you're saying, Mike, but I do think we should give the people who are trying credit for trying, because there's those assholes out there who aren't even trying.
And those are also those like annoying people too, who just won't stop trying to wake you up when I'm trying to
hear you. I hear you. Anyway, what's softness?
Thank you. Soft.
Okay,
We
what's
all
soft?
agree, at least I know I've heard 3 or 4 people, it means to us easily offended.
Okay.
So if that's what the conversation is, then I would say no, we are not too soft as a nation, because the things that there are things that happen and people see, oh, look, here's an example of this, but they're always picking like the thing that happened, and it's a big deal. It's like I want to say like somebody where they talk about the welfare system, and somebody went to the store and they bought like lobster and steak, and then what they do is they take that one incident and they make it out to be like that's what's happening. Is all these people are buying lobster and steak with their food stamps, and it's not.
The welfare queen.
Yeah, and so it's the same sort of thing. Is like you will have places where somebody who, for a variety of reasons, maybe they're not woke enough, like Duryea was saying, or maybe there's somebody who's got ulterior motives for presenting wokeness, like what Michael was saying, and so you've got these things that happen, and then people point at that as if like, see, that's it right there. But the reality is that racism and sexism and bigotry against the LGBTQ community, those are real things, and those are offensive things. And like you said, you're racist, you're not racist, or you're anti-racist. And if you're anti-racist, then even smaller things about race will offend you, because they're contributing to the ongoing problem, whether they're contributing in a big way or whether they're just contributing in a small way. So that's, to me, it's like, it's not easily offended. This is a problem and you're contributing to it.
Just people get offended about things they shouldn't get offended about. Like all those things, everyone should definitely be offended by it. If you're not offended by it, then I don't even want to really associate with you if you think it's okay to, say someone can't do something because they're Black or because they're gay. Like those are things that everybody should have some sensitivity or be soft about. But I just think like people are just taking certain things and just running with it just to get on, I don't know, viral on IG or make the news or do something. It's just I really think that the reason why we're having this conversation about being too hard, too soft is because people are taking things out of proportion. Like it was always about what matters right here. What can we do? It was always a problem that needed to be solved. It's no longer about a problem that we see that we need to solve. People are just crying about whatever they want to cry about and taking away from important issues like racism and bigotry toward the LGBTQ. I can't ever say the words and the letters, please forgive me, but it's just, it irritates me because we can't focus on what matters. Everyone's talking about things that don't really freaking matter because they're so self-centered. It wants to be about me. Forget this big picture that's going on over here. Look at me. And honestly, I blame social media for that, because we didn't ever have none of this sensitivity bullshit until people can start commenting on your posts
and start crying on your page, like, look what happened to me at fucking Walmart. I don't care.
If it wasn't for social media, though, go ahead, Chris.
Like if I'm at Walmart and someone starts saying some fucking racist shit to me, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm never going to see you ever again. Like, we are never going to interact, and you have no power over my life. You can decide to be a bigot yourself if you want to. I don't want to expend the energy to sit down and have a fucking long, drawn out conversation that would need to happen for me to reach through to you. So I'm not going to give a fuck about you, and I'm going to go about my day.
I just let the next person pop you in the mouth.
Huh?
I just let the person just pop them in the mouth because they didn't learn the first time. Oh well.
I'm just saying, like, so, but nowadays you'll see that all the time on fucking Facebook or Twitter. Like, look at this racist Karen going off in a fucking Chipotle, and they're like,
but you don't feel like this is why I'm sorry. Go ahead, because I want to cut you off so bad. But go ahead. Go ahead.
But it's like, I don't really care about that. Can we get some like policy change, or can we like do something that actually matters instead of just dealing with every little like
instead of
like
it's steps though. Like if we don't show that this happens, then no one's gonna think it's a fucking problem, and then we're not gonna get policy change.
And I'm not saying that we shouldn't show that it happens, but damn, how many Karens can I look at? We know there's Karens everywhere.
Like, but listen,
who doesn't know that they're racist?
But listen,
my dad doesn't know.
Your dad,
my dad doesn't know. Like, this is a fucking conversation we have. My dad doesn't fucking know. Okay, so that's who doesn't know.
Okay, my bad. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm sorry.
So I'm fucking soft right now.
You seem like it. You fucking raw nerve. All I said was like, who doesn't know who's racist? And he gets exactly this. Like, I have no idea who your dad is. I mean no ill will to your dad whatsoever. I had nothing. It was just we live in America, which from my perspective is the most racist country ever. But then again, I'm a black man, right? So it's kind of like we all day, every day, all we hear is about how racism is impacting our country, and we have a whole month dedicated to it. So it seems weird to me that no one in the country understands.
Wait, Chris. We have a whole month dedicated to what?
Black History Month.
The shortest month.
All right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues that I have with Black History Month.
How many people voted for Trump? How many people voted for Trump? Because that's
a lot.
That's like
74 million.
74. That's 74 million people that will tell you if you ask them, is there a problem with racism in this country, and they'll say no.
Yep.
They'll say there's no problem with it. That it doesn't exist.
Will they believe it? That's the question. They'll say there's no racist problem, but do they actually believe that?
Yeah.
I feel like though, this is my thing though. Y'all remember the Karen? I feel like this Karen is also 50% responsible for why the Black Lives Movement uptick happened in such a strong way. It's so sad that this happened on the same day, but on the same day where George Floyd died is when that video came out of that woman in the park in Central Park. And for a lot of people who had been hearing about this kind of shit happening and being like, oh no, seeing that woman literally change her voice when she got on the phone with the police. She went from talking like this to, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
And when people saw that, it was like, and then she weaponized the police against a black man. And you keep hearing shit like that, but you think it's not real until you're like, bro, she just really did that shit.
That's why it's important that people do continue putting it out there for people to see, because I mean, the same way you're tired of seeing it, people are tired of living it. So I mean, it's kind of like.
But how many people watched that video and related to her?
Oh,
half the country.
A lot.
Oh. Yeah, I mean,
how many black people had to be killed by the cops before we finally started protesting all over the country?
One of the craziest
I'm talking about a racist dude, a racist person in Walmart calling me the N-word versus someone literally weaponizing the cops that had me shot. Those are two different things.
No, they're not.
They are totally two different things.
Because that man who called you a nigger. Ooh.
It's okay.
I see where he's going.
Look, that's the first point in my life where I'm like, but that racist man who called you that could have been like the men who followed Ahmaud Arbery. It could have very well
ended that was a crime
for you.
And then
that's what I'm saying. Like, no. You're acting like, well, I'm just saying, like, let's not downplay this. And I was trying to explain to somebody else about how words are violent. I said, with certain words, especially that have a history of violence, that come after, like the N-word, like the F-word, they're very violent, because usually when a white person comes out of themselves to call you the N-word, it's generally followed by something violent. The only time I've ever been called that, I got a beer can thrown at me. Well, it was actually the F-word. But still, like, the thing about that is, like, those words are basically a warning. So when someone comes out of themselves to call you that, it's basically them telling you that they're about to hurt you. And,
I feel like what Chris is inner.
Yeah,
all a bajillion times.
Chris, if I'm wrong, correct me. But I feel like Chris is what he's really trying to get at is not like there's nothing wrong with it and I don't care. More like that's not the time and place for me personally to address this person's racism.
Correct.
That's what I think he's really getting into.
Yeah, I know it's wrong. Yeah,
right. So that's not. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely wrong, and I don't condone it. But it's. I'm not going to take energy out of my day to sit there and either try to talk to this dude, nor am I going to get on Facebook and try to like figure out who this dude is so he can get fired from 7-Eleven or where the fuck he works. Because then taking away his livelihood's not going to change his mind over it.
It might not change his, but it might change somebody else's.
I don't think it will. It hasn't. Like,
if the reason, this is how I can tell you. Okay, so let me tell you. I want to share a little story real quick.
You can lose your job one day, but because of your privilege, you can get another one real quick, fast.
Well, but listen though, this is real shit though. Like this one time, I had a conversation with a resident of mine when I was an RA, kind of highlighting some behavior that was questionable of hers, which it felt like a conversation that she didn't really grasp until this summer when all this stuff happened. I haven't heard from her in like 10 years. And she messaged me. She's like, I'm so glad you had that conversation with me. I had forgot about this conversation. Totally forgot about it. Because after that conversation, I started to look at people differently because she was from one of those towns that had no black people. No, you know what I'm saying? So for her coming to college, it was all new. And over time, because people kept pointing out to her that these things were an issue, she started to look inward and do self-inventory. It's like, have you ever had your mama tell you something so many times, but then once that other guy tells you, you get it, and she says, oh, somebody else had to tell you. No, that's not the truth. You just had to be told 12 times. That's just how people work sometimes. That some things, lessons have to be reiterated before they actually stick. And if we stop taking the incentive or we stop taking the impulse to tell somebody that they're messing up, we're allowing that behavior to exist, because you not getting that dude, okay, the dude comes to you, calls you N-word, you let it go. He's gonna even be more emboldened. Is that a word? Is that a word?
It is definitely a word.
Okay. To go and do that again to somebody else. And you never know what that situation is gonna be.
Well, I think
we're talking the difference between punching Nazis,
you know. Be careful.
Okay, wait, Tamala and then Danny.
Yeah, so I think maybe what I'm reading for Chris is you have to be careful nowadays. Like legit, it's how you handle stuff. Like where you can let people know that it's not okay, but who knows? I mean, like shootings are a real thing. Violence is real. So it may be a thing of to what level am I gonna get involved with something? So you do have to be careful, and that's why it's so hard nowadays to figure out what to do with things, because how do I let someone know that this is unacceptable without putting myself in danger? Or if I'm at Walmart, I have 3 children, I'm a single mom, I usually have, and they're 7 and below, I have kids with me. When I say what I'm gonna say, am I safe? Or my children safe? You know what I mean? It's tough. So
I do.
You have to figure out how to do things. And 2, I try not to, as a Black woman, I try not to act out. Like it's worse for us to show anger. It's worse for us to, because that's what they look for. So they can say, oh, look, she's doing it, kind of thing.
Black woman. There she goes.
So, yes. So it's really difficult with figuring out how to address things where you're letting people know, I don't stand for this. I'm not okay with this, but am I safe? Or is this going to be turned into, let them pull out a phone and show an angry Black woman kind of thing? You have to be careful. So that's
it's real sketchy, because like,
listen,
I have
Chris,
all the fixings for.
I hate to do it to you, Chris, because we're a little over time, and I did say Danny could go next, so I'm gonna give Danny the last comment for right now. Then we're gonna go to final thoughts. So what you're about to say right now, you can say it for your final thought.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in final thoughts now.
No, I'm saying you get this thought, and then we're going to final. Yes,
and then okay.
I
was just gonna say, like, it's the difference between punching Nazis and actually having a like in the moment and actually having a dialogue or something that will have a further benefit, and that's all. So
okay, great. Well, this conversation was awesome, but we're going to come back for our final thoughts. But before we do that, just a very short ad break.
You're going to need a babysitter for your own children because, you're going to need lots of energy to pass out virtually to everyone who's looking down in the dumps. you're going to need to know how to work the Zooms and things, because, see, I don't know nothing about the Zooms and the computers and all them things and the FaceTimes and the Google Classrooms and things. And I be struggling, so you're going to need to know how to do that, baby. You're going to need to know exactly what you're doing when it comes to that.
Hi, this is Cody from Cody Paul Media. Thank you for joining me. Anybody can record a video, but the question is, how do you make that video stand out among the rest? A quick animated video like this one can change things around for your company, so go to codypaulmedia.com and get those needs met today. See you later.
That was the Mompreneur Plug, youtube.com/c/mompreneur plug. She is a hilarious mompreneur, business owner of education. I'm not sure what would describe it's not like private home tutoring, but she does education. And everybody loves Tamara. And her husband is Cody Paul Francis, who owns Cody Paul Media. And they actually designed the logo, not the logo, I always say that. They designed the titles for Talk It Out, both the intro and the outro. They're awesome. They do website design. So you can find him at codypaulmedia.com. All right, so this is the part of the show where we do our final thoughts. Each panelist is going to tell you what they have either left the conversation with or what they hope you leave the conversation with. But before I say that, before we go there, let's start by letting everyone at home know that if you or someone you know would like to be on the panel, or if you got a friend who you think would be perfect for this, please hit us up on admin@woenellymedia.com. We would love to add you to the panel. That's how we get a lot of our new panelists. And this is the show that anybody has a voice, because everybody's voice is important. You don't have to be a freaking scientist to have an important opinion, unless you're Jim. All right. So, because you got on me about the COVID thing, and I'm in my feelings. All right. So let's start with PJ. As he said, right.
That's a good way to start my first final thought on the show, right?
Right.
Really, all right. Going back to the what political correctness used to mean and what it should be about. I think over the last couple of decades, a lot of legitimate issues like abortion, gun rights, and things like that have been lumped under this big boogeyman of political correctness, along with other ideas of white supremacy and chauvinism. And when people say, well, I'm not politically correct, ask yourself, what is it that they want to say that they needed to put that caveat at the beginning of that statement? It's probably something racist. It's probably sexist. And that's why they have to set that off. Now, as far as tougher skin, I think we should be able to have we can't have these conversations if we don't all have tougher skin. So I do agree with that. We do need to get a little bit tougher, but we do need to be careful about how we conduct this dialogue.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. Short and sweet. You can find PJ on Twitter at the PJ Vong, VONG. And you can find him at thepjvong.blogspot.com. Thank you for joining us today. All right, let's go to Georgia.
Oh, I knew it's gonna be me next.
Yeah.
This was just such a really interesting conversation.
It was.
I mean, it really was. I think when it comes down to whether or not you're determining someone is being soft or not, I think you need to check your heart. You need to check the type of person you are, because I never use the word soft, and I'm not upset with you for using the word for the theme of the show, but I don't refer to people as soft. I do feel like if you have an opinion or you don't agree with something, there's a reason why, and I want to know the reason why before I write you off as being overly dramatic, just doing it for likes and wants and to get a couple of extra dollars on your OnlyFans. Why is it the issue to you? Is it an issue to you because it doesn't just affect you, but it does affect others as well? So it's not necessarily about being soft. It's about us looking and really getting underneath and seeing what the issue is before we write someone off on saying you're being soft and your opinion doesn't matter.
Nice, very nice. You can find Georgia at Sweet Georgia Brown 924 on Instagram. Thank you for being here today, Georgia. Chris.
Kind of like what PJ was saying. It's more. I think we need to be tougher, but I don't necessarily think that you should just go off and be an asshole just cause. And we get to have these conversations if we don't necessarily get too emotional off the cuff whenever something like this is broached. And just like as an aside, a really good person to look to as a reference for things like this is Daryl Davis. Is anybody ever heard of him? He's a jazz singer who went and talked to over 200 KKK members, and he's a black man.
The black dude, I've seen that video.
Yeah, and he's a black man, and
he converted, he got a bunch of them to leave the KKK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he just did that with conversation and not being overly dramatic and having thick skin when they were calling them niggas and putting guns on the table.
That's some real
the KKK.
I don't have the patience.
Man, my skin is tingling.
Right, just hearing that just made me mad. Good for him though. I couldn't do it. Not right now.
And I think it's when you approach things like that, and that's when you can actually break through to people instead of literally just being being a victim in that situation. You know what I'm saying? And,
I get what you're saying.
And trying to cancel them and get have them lose their job and their station does nothing more than just shove them deeper into their echo chambers and whatnot, and then it just festers. So I just think we should just be more open and try to understand the intention behind what someone's trying to say when they're saying something, and not necessarily going off the cuff and thinking that they're necessarily trying to be offensive all the time. And then if they are, you handle it accordingly. My thing is just to let it roll and then keep it moving to bigger and better things.
All right. Next up, Jim.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a compound of what everybody else was saying. The awareness that I was talking about comes from social media and the internet, but also being able to access information, facts, not just hearsay, that you can get that you wouldn't normally get in any kind of situation, which leads to that wokeness that could be good or bad. It also gives fringe people, an opportunity to find each other and make those festering wounds. And it kind of leads to either a good or a bad situation. You're either going to learn from it or you're going to turn away from it and completely turn off to even the idea of trying to empathize with somebody. And I say the word love a lot. I don't mean it the same when I say I love you guys, that when I say I love my mom and dad, the same way that I say I love cheese. It's all different types, but that's the one thing that connects us all. You can love somebody's ideas, or you can hate somebody's ideas, and you can still love them on a human level.
Person.
Not even as the person. If you disagree with this person, you can still love them for being a human. You don't necessarily make that connection in your mind, but that is a connection. It's something that that's the reason we're humans. Monkeys don't do this shit. It's because we understand that other person is going to at least hear what I'm saying on a base level. They may not listen to it, but they're going to hear it. I know the anatomy of this other person. I love that. I love the idea that person has a brain behind their mouth, but the problem is not loving the things that come out. That's not the problem, but not loving the things that come out is where it changes. You have the ability to do that, and you love that. Now, the outcome, it's just like free speech. You could say some shit, but somebody's probably going to have something to say about it. So you can say something to me. I recognize you're a human, but don't say that to me. I don't need to hear that. That's not a human ideal that I agree with. So I love you all on a human level, and I love the fact that we could have this conversation and connect in this way. I don't know any of you other than Duryea personally, but I got to hear your stories, and I love the idea of that. Love you guys.
Dude, much love, man.
Nice. Don't y'all start with all that on my show.
Too late.
Right. Talk about cameras will malfunction in a heartbeat. All right. You can find Jim on Twitter at Not Very Far. Far is spelled P-H-A-R-R. Fur. All right. Michael.
It's funny because it's Far is actually a town in Texas and it's spelled just like that. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to my cousin Sarah because she, Jim actually kind of brought up this point, made me think about her. She often tells me that I love you, but I don't like you. So keep that in mind. Talking about soft, I think about the word snowflake that comes in mind, and now like how where the country has gone. Now this week, a college quarterback actually had to apologize for being on a TV show where he ate sushi off a nude model or almost nude model's body. I don't think anybody should have to apologize for that ever, you know, especially the producer's idea for that. But that's being light. On a serious note, talking about softness, we could talk about House Bill 196 in Texas, where a Democrat in Irving, Terry Meza, she said that what this bill is for people doing home invasions, that she wants to modify castle doctrine so, you know, they have to at least attempt to escape the home before defending their home. And which, honestly, to me, is one of the craziest things I've ever heard.
Oh, so like if somebody comes in your house, you got to try to run before you can defend yourself?
Correct. So pay attention to these things. Well,
do you have an invite?
No, that's what I'm, you know, that's the most craziest thing. Yeah. House Bill 196, look it up, Texas.
It sounds super crazy because that's not actually how it goes, but yes, there is a gun control law that is altering some of the stand your ground stuff.
So it's crazy, but ultimately, Duryea, thank you so much for inviting me on the podcast. Enjoyed it. So maybe another time. But yeah, no, had a great time, and follow me on stuff. Oh, also for those of y'all who use natural hair products, Butterfly Naturals. That's my ex, but we're still on good terms. So
okay.
She does great stuff with shea butter and whatnot. BUTTA Fly Naturals, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you guys.
So butterflies and BUTTA Naturals. I'm sorry, BUTTAFLY.
Correct.
Okay, nice. All right, Danny. I'm sorry. You can find Michael on all social media at, can you throw that back up there? It'll be at GetBent730 on all social media. All right, let's go over to Danny.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm hitting everybody on Twitter as these are coming up. All right, so just a real quick note on that. It's against the stand your ground more. They weren't talking as much about when they actually come in your house, which is the castle doctrine. But rather if they're on your property, then you need to try to get back. Now we still have an opinion about that. I support the Second Amendment, so I'm not necessarily for that, but there's a difference in their nuance. Okay, so on this, what's the main for me? There's two parts of it, right? There's the part where if you want to call something out. And then there's a part like if you're getting called out for something, and that's because that's what people deal with, right? So if you feel like someone has done something that you need to say something about, I think the question is, you know, whether you're offended or not, because you might not be personally offended. I messaged Duryea about something that I wasn't personally offended about, but I thought I would reach out and, you know, say something and get some clarification. So the question is, what's the fight? What is it here that is such a big deal that you're incensed and you feel like you need to say something about it, right? Is it somebody is wearing something that you think looks like it's an Asian clothes or whatever, okay? Like, is that really a fight that you need to make? So that's the first one. And then even if you feel like there's a fight you need to make, this gets into what Chris is saying. Why are we making a statement right now in this avenue, right? Is it And that it might be because I don't let people call me names. I'm gonna punch them in the face. That could be why. It could be because you want to shame somebody. There's a lot of reasons why, but you have to ask yourself that. And hopefully the reason is I am trying to increase understanding in others so that we can be a better society. Hopefully that's the reason, but sometimes it's not, whatever. If you're being called out, just remember the first thing is you can't tell somebody that they are not offended. You cannot tell somebody that they shouldn't be offended. You're an asshole if you do that, okay? That doesn't mean you have to alter your actions or anything. It's just, all I'm saying on that part is like, recognize that that person has feelings. Those feelings are legitimate, right? They feel that. So from there, you just kind of have to think to yourself like, okay, wow, I didn't know that, or, you know, and assess what that means to you. You know, yeah, I'm glad you're offended because I was trying to be offensive, right? Okay, that's an answer. Or, damn, I did not mean to offend this person. Why is this person offended? Can I, is it something that I can change about myself? So a real good example of this, I think, is pronouns. Like, if you misgender somebody and they say, hey, I'm offended because you are, and it's not because you misgendered me. Generally, it's because you continue to misgender me despite being told you're not even trying. You know, like, that's where people start getting mad about this PC culture. That's really where they're upset about it. They're not mad because people want people to be better and do better. They're mad because, don't tell me to call you by your pronoun. Like, I'll call you what I want. And okay, yes, you can. I would be against any law that told you that you would go to jail if you called someone by the wrong pronoun. That said, you're an asshole. Like, call them by their pronoun. They're just asking you for a very simple thing. And even Ben Shapiro, like, his whole thing is like, why do I have to remember? Why do I have to remember? In an interview, he actually called someone by their actual pronoun because it was just easier, because he was just like, it just made sense. And then he actually stopped and backed up and was like, well, what I meant to do was misgender them on purpose. So, you know, it's like this, just, if you're trying to be offensive, or if it's just something you can't change, that's fine. But just don't say that the other person's not offended, and just keep you know, keep that in mind as you're going about your daily business.
Wonderful. You can find Danny on Twitter at Rem Alternis, REMALTERNIS. Also, youtube.com/C/Rem Alternis, and twitch.tv/Master of Rem. REM is Rem. Thank you so much, Danny. And last but certainly not least, Miss Tamala Ransom.
I think the entire time that I have been like on this podcast with you guys, the word that has just been like ringing in my head is just empathy. And Jim kind of touched on it, but it's literally just empathy. I don't have to believe what you believe. I don't have to think the way you think, but I can hear you out and respect you as a person. And honestly, Duryea, I'm going to keep this short, because when we first started and I listened to the intro of your show, I was like, he just addressed this whole podcast in his intro, because at the end of the day, is it healthy? Is it productive? Is it respectful? And that's just how you should communicate. You can always say what you feel and think, but is it those three things? Like, just care about the people who you're interacting with and who you live in this world with. So that's all I got. More love. I'm with you, Jim. And it's been really fun, you guys.
It's been a blast.
Well, so, all right. That was great. I like that she low-key gave me some props too, because I mean, I just came up with that one day. Before I do my final thought, I first of all want to thank my panel, and I want to thank y'all for being here and being so open and being bold enough to come into an arena like this, not knowing who you were going to sit across from and whether you're going to agree or disagree, and just being open to having that dialogue and ask tough questions and just be, that's especially seeing how many people have come and then not seen it through. I really appreciate y'all for that. I also want to thank everybody at home watching. Like I say, if y'all hop in for a second, comment real quick and leave, or if you stay the whole way through, y'all are a huge part of this show. Thank you for following us. Make sure you like and share, subscribe, tell your friends about us. We post the audio episodes every Monday at 6 a.m. So if you want to listen to it while you're jogging or walking your dog, you can get a new episode. They're found on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all that stuff. All right, my final thought. My final thought is to, and this is something that I try to do generally with things, not things, with the things that I interact with. I try to see them as connected to me, because when you really look at the universe, everything is connected. I mean, you can only hear me right now because of vibrations, things that leave me and touch you. That's the way everything works. Wind, earth, everything is connected. So when I deal with another person, and kind of, they were talking about that before, I'm dealing with a person that is me. It's just like, I'm not going to cut off my left hand with my right hand because they're at war with each other. It's counterproductive to the whole being. So if you look at the world as a body instead of as like a bunch of separate countries and stuff, you'll realize that hurting them hurts me in the long run. You might not see it right now because you feel like you've just you've just overwhelmed the threat, but really you just created more opposition for yourself. So I try to see people as people before I see them as other things first. Now that don't mean be stupid in the streets, okay? Because it's everybody ain't on that same type of wavelength. You know what I'm saying? If you get on that wavelength, good, but realize everybody ain't like that. But at the end of the day, when you see people as people first, it's much easier to control not control, but to understand when you're met with resistance, and also to try not to meet that resistance with the resistance of like the unproductive resistance. All right, so that's all I got, because everybody else said a lot of stuff I wanted to say. This was an amazing panel. Thank you to everybody. We will be back next Thursday for an all new show. I'm not sure about the topic yet, but you'll know in the next few days. Also, remember, this is a place where people of opposing views can get together and have a healthy, productive dialogue in a respectful way. Keeping in mind that it's not always about proving who's right and who's wrong. Sometimes it's simply about listening and being heard. Have a great night.